Hey guys, it's Danny. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to share a tip on how I churn scrapbook paper I already have into double-sided paper. Now for mine, I have two patterns on the back side because I'm going to be turning this into a traveler's notebook, but you can do the same process with just one pattern if you want, but I'm going to show you how to do two. I will also be showing you guys later on in the video how to assemble the traveler's notebook once all your papers are printed and ready to go. So you can see I'm starting off with the Maggie Holmes Shine paper pad, but I wanted to incorporate some of the Flourish papers in this traveler's notebook as well, so that's why I went ahead and did it this way. That way I can use up some of the scrapbook paper I already have and repurpose it into something that I need. So I created all these double-sided papers. So let me show you guys how to do this. I will say that the most important thing to keep in mind throughout this whole process is the direction in which your pattern goes. Now for some patterns that don't really have a direction like this one, it doesn't really matter. Same with these two, they can go either direction. This one can go either direction. But this one you can see is directional, so it kind of needs to go vertically, right? So do keep that in mind as you're going throughout this process. This one you can see is fairly directional, but these two are not. So the trick that I use is just to keep the directional pattern, if there is one, on only one side of the paper. So here it's not directional at all, but these two are. So it just helps me when I'm going to print and stuff to keep things straight so that like there's not one pattern going one way and then on the back it's upside down or something or sideways. So just keep that in mind. Let me go ahead and show you guys how to get started on this. So like I mentioned, I'm going to be creating a traveler's notebook out of mine. This one is just for an example. So if I'm going to be using a pattern paper, I want to make sure that when the book is assembled, the pattern is going the correct way. So for a patterned paper, what I like to do is cut my paper down to 8.5 by 11, and you'll notice that I cut it in such a way that when the paper is horizontal, the pattern is the correct direction that I want it. And then for a non kind of pattern specific directional one, you can choose whichever way you like best. So I want half of my page vertically to have yellow and half to have white, so I'm going to make sure that the yellow is long because when I go to fold it, it'll look like that. Same with the bows. When I go to fold it, it'll look like that, which is what I want. So once you have all of your papers cut, it's time to go over to the computer. I use Photoshop, but you might be able to use a different program. I'm just going to show you what I'm familiar with. So let's go ahead and head over to the computer. Here you can see that I am in Photoshop and I have an 8.5 by 11 template here that I'm working on, and I've flipped it horizontally, and you can do that really easily by going up to image and then image rotation, and you can turn it if you need to. So that's just a little tip. This helps me keep in mind the directional patterns that I was talking about earlier. So what we're working on right now is going to be the back side of the bow pattern paper that I just cut down and showed you guys. Let's go ahead and drag over some patterns. I usually keep all my digital downloads in Google Drive, and then I just download the ones I need as I need them and then delete them from here, and then they're still in Google Drive. If you guys want a video on how I keep all that stuff organized, I'm more than happy to share that with you guys. So all I'm going to do is I think I want this pink one, because remember the bow pattern is directional, right? So I want to focus on using two non-directional patterns here. So I've just clicked and dragged over. You can hit enter, and then you can see it over here. I'll pull this over for you guys. So you can see that I have my pattern placed over my template, and what I did at the beginning, sorry I didn't mention this earlier, is I created two colored boxes, and these are half sheet size boxes. So 5.5 by 8.5, 5.5 by 8.5, and then together that makes up the whole 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So this way it's really easy for me to drop my pattern in, and then I can just create a clipping mask, and it will go ahead and clip that pattern to the shape that I've created, which is very handy because then you don't have to guess like where the half point in the paper is. So let's go ahead and pick another pattern. So I think I'm going to use this one. I'm just going to drag it over a little bit so it covers my box here. So once I have it pulled into Photoshop, I'm going to click and drag this layer so that it will be over the clipping layer that I need. So go ahead and clip that. And then it is set. And then at this point, I'm going to put my paper into the printer. So here you can see I have my printer, and I'm just going to pull out the paper tray. And I'm going to make sure that I put my paper into the tray with the pattern side up, because the printer will pull it like this and then print the new patterns on the back. So make sure the pattern side is up, and then you're ready to print. So I'm going to walk you guys through real quick the printer settings that I use. So let's go ahead and select print. Make sure that your paper is set for horizontal or landscape orientation. I always go in and check my printer settings. I make sure that I choose the US letter size borderless. Otherwise you will get like a white border around your paper, which you don't want, especially if you're doing a traveler's notebook insert. And then I also like to make sure that my quality is very high. I always print digital things with the Photo Paper Plus Glossy 2. That's the highest setting I have on my printer. And then I always set the print quality to high as well. Make sure that the color options are normal, which is what I want. Click save, and then I just want one of these, and then I will click print. So this is the finished print. I think it turned out pretty well. Usually scrapbook paper is a decent enough quality that you can print on the back. So I'm going to set this aside, and we're going to go through one more of these for you guys. So now we're back at our template with our two paper half shape things. And for this one, I want to use that yellow to white ombre paper. So it's not super directional, so I can probably add a more directional pattern on one of these two things, or both if I want. So I want to use these tickets right here. And it's already layered in the place where I need it to be, so I'm just going to go ahead and create a clipping mask. And then we need another pattern for this pink one. So let's see, I think I've used most of these already in the samples I have. So let's go ahead and use this black and white one. Now see, this one comes up behind the little clipping mask shape. So I'm going to drag it on top and then create another clipping mask. And here you can see we have our two halves. So I'm going to go ahead and print this again. So go up here, go to print, make sure everything is the same again. Quality looks good, color looks good. I have it on borderless. Save. I only want one, and then I will click print. When all of your papers are printed and ready to go, we're going to go ahead and start adding some folds to these so we can assemble the traveler's notebook. So I find the easiest way to fold them is actually with the half and half pattern side facing up, so that I can try to add my score line right where those two patterns meet. Like that. And I'm just going to repeat that with all of the pattern papers. Okay, now we don't need the scoring board anymore. And I'm going to try to figure out now at this point which paper I want to be my cover. And I think I want it to be this one. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this one the correct way. So this will be my cover. And then I think I want to fold, well, which one do I want to be my middle page? I think I want like a full solid pattern for my middle page. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this one this way. That way at the center of my book, I'll have this full-on pattern instead of like two patterns kind of right next to each other. So I like that idea. And then the rest of these, I think I'm gonna fold with the full page pattern in the middle. You can see I've messed up my little clipping shapes a little bit, but it's okay because this is the side where we're gonna be trimming off the most paper. So that's kind of okay. So grab your cover. I'm going to start putting your papers in how you think you want them. So once you have your papers in the order that you want them, you can see I have mine here. I'll do a better flip through at the end of this video, but once you have all of your papers organized, I like to go ahead and fold it, make sure everything is even on the top, and then carefully open it up, making sure that the seams are still aligned. And I'm going to use some binder clips to hold it in place, so that things don't move around. And then I have a long arm stapler. I know not everybody has one of these. They're fairly inexpensive on Amazon, so if you plan on making a lot of TNs for yourself, I highly suggest investing in one. I think they're like 20 bucks or something, but you can use a regular stapler too. You would just have to like open it up so it can staple flat through the pages. But like I said, I have one of these, so I'm going to use this. So mine has a cool adjustable thing on it, but I don't really need that right now because I'm just going to eyeball the seam and staple it in place. So I just added a couple of staples, so I don't feel like I need a ton on here. Snap back down. Then I don't need the stapler anymore. And then the last step is to cut down or trim down your notebook so that it will be the correct size for your TN. So to do that, I like to use this old piece of cutting mat thing or whatever. I also use a Fiskars rotary cutter trimmer thing and a metal stapler. So I find that the easiest way to do this without a crap ton of measuring is just to grab another, traveler's notebook insert that you have. And I like to do this on the back, so any pencil marks I can easily erase and it won't really show. So you just line it up, draw a very light line, like so. And then you're going to take your ruler. I like to put the metal side of the ruler against the paper to make sure that I get the most straight up and down cuts. And if you have a mat that has like grid lines on it, definitely use it. It's there to help you. So I'm not only using the mark that I made, I'm also using the little dots on either side to make sure that the ruler is straight all the way down. And you take your rotary trimmer and you just start going down your paper up against the ruler. Now if you're a minor, you might want to get some help with this part because this is a cutting blade that is exposed, so you want to be careful. You don't have to press down super hard, but it might take you several passes. So there's one side of it cut, so let's go ahead and trim the very top edge. Again, I'm going to line up the ruler on both edges. Alright, so that is the finished cut down notebook. I will say some of you guys might be horrified that I'm using this for paper, but I don't use it for sewing, so do not yell at me in the comments, please. So this is the finished notebook. I really love how the pages turned out. I think they're really fun. I love all the patterns. And in case I didn't mention it, these papers, the ones that I printed were from the Maggie Holmes Flourish collection, and then the ones that were already printed that I'm repurposing are from the Maggie Holmes Shine. So I love her stuff because it all kind of coordinates. And what I really like about printing like half a pattern on each side of the page is that you get like different spreads. So, this one is the same, but this is different than these, I really like that. It adds a little bit more interest to your book. I will be turning this into a mini album, and if you want to see that whole process, I will be doing that in the May Crafty Club live stream. So if you sign up now for that level in the Crafty Club, you'll get access to all the past live streams, of which this will be one. So that's really exciting. So definitely go check out the Crafty Club if you're interested in seeing the full process video of this, because I will not be editing it down or cropping anything out because it is a live stream. So that'll be really fun. But that is it for today's video. I hope you guys really enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know down below if you want more tutorials like this. Please make sure you are subscribed if you're not already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!